welcome to Wrestling and Everything Coast to Coast with your host, Buddy Sotelo Esquire and Dr. Mike Leno, and our very, very super special guest. So glad to have you back on the show again. Everybody's absolutely just maybe the most fabulous guest that we ever have, and that's Jeanne Bassone, the original Hollywood from Glow, and I'm just so glad to have you here. Happy holidays to you.
Happy holidays to you. Thanks, guys, for having me. It's nice seeing you both. You look good.
Not as good as you look. Not as good as you
Jeannie, wait, you were just at Comic-Con. Did you get to see William Shatner or some of the other celebs that were at the Los Angeles Comic-Con that we went to a couple of years ago?
Yeah, exactly. We were so busy in the booth that I did not get to go and see him. I should have ran over there, but then there's that, and I don't want to be that person. I got to meet him before anyway, and I had a lovely photo with him. I have an 8x10 in my, and it was no fans around. So it was very cool.
He's in his 90s now, right?
He just doesn't act, though, like he's in his 90s.
Yeah, he's got a lot of energy and really with it.
I know his brain is still like really, really sharp.
He's got a new book, a brand new book. He's done several before, but the new book came out like in the last 6-7 weeks.
Oh, that's excellent. I didn't know about that, Mike.
It's what's that thing they say at the beginning of Star Trek? You know, the TV show. That's the title of it.
To go where no man has gone before.
Yeah.
Something like it's the title of Shat's new book, and total legend. Jeannie also has a big piece of news. Tell us about that, because you texted me the latest or the most recent owner of the Glow name passed away on the 3rd. Tell us about that. She was not the first, but the last farmer's daughter. Is that correct?
So Ursula Hayden, also known as Babe, the farmer's daughter, who owned the Glow trademark. I see my cat in the background there.
Yeah.
Hi, Kitty. Passed away, unfortunately, on December 3rd, and she was battling cancer. I remember, you guys, in 2002, when I had moved into my house, that she had a lump in her breast, and she was talking to me about it then. So this is something and she had it removed. I just think, anyway, it's a shame. I could go on and on about it, but I am running a little GoFund that I put on my Facebook page, and I shared it on Twitter, and I shared it on Instagram to raise money. She has a daughter, Alaska, and just to help with some medical bills and the funeral expenses. We all know how much those cost, but cancer sucks. And anyway, I talked to Alaska, and she said, Jeannie, she goes, my mother, actually, she's always called me Hollywood. She's like, Hollywood. She goes, my mother was everything to me. And she goes, I'm just trying to keep my head up. And, you know, it sucks for a young girl to lose her mother and then lose her mom during Christmas. I mean, it's a bummer. Was
that a recurrence of the breast cancer, do you know? Or something else?
I think it came back, is what I'm pretty sure. My mother had it as well. She's doing well after, 15 years now. So it's very sad.
What would happen? I forget how she ended up with because she wasn't in the first season as you were. You were right there from day one.
No, she came in after, but she was good friends with the owner. And after the show was over, she just asked for the rights, and he, gave them to her. I mean, there's lots of theories, how, what, who, where, but I'm going to keep it positive. And she just acquired those rights. He sold them to her. I think it was for a penny, like 1 cent. And, good for her. Good for her for getting it. And I want something that's like, I know some people liked her, some people didn't like her, but, if she didn't have those rights, she would never have secured the Glow Netflix show that they leased the trademark from her, and then was able to put all those girls that made them a little bit more relevant and put Glow back on the map. So if she didn't have that, we wouldn't be doing all these conventions. I mean, Mike, I get called for conventions, and I'm getting called by new promoters all the time. And so that's just like so cool. You know, I mean,
What
I
took
have the
them
same.
so long? They should have been calling you. They should have been calling you all the time. Yeah,
They
what
had to
took them
call
so long?
me, but more recent. And if you have to think about it, I'm the only one that kept doing this from day one. I never stopped. Everybody else stopped. You know, and and that's fine. They stopped. They had families. You know, and people move on. Some people don't want to, you know, even be contacted, like Vine. Can't find Vine, Spanish Red. You know, people move on. But I continued to wrestle, you know, Mike in the independents for a little bit, and then started my own company. And I tried to still keep that brand going.
There
And
were
then
the conventions. Obviously you had me graciously had me in Long Beach when you had the kickoff cruise. I don't know if you've done. It sounds like you've done several of the Glow cruises.
oh yeah, well there were 3 Glow cruises before yours, and they were called Afterglow. That was one of the girls that started another company called Afterglow for the fans, and I called mine the original Glow. So there was 4. So you just try to keep the brand going, and I'm telling you, you know, the producer, Gingy Cohen from Orange is the New Black, was the one that saw the documentary that we did and then said, let's do a show based on Glow, the girls in the 80s. So that's awesome. You know, and it would have been great. We all say it would have been really lovely if we could have done cameos on that. That would have made, I think, give it even more credibility. But it's a fiction show, and I don't care. Anything that brings our brand back into the public and let younger generation know who we were. And I don't know if anybody has the book Sister of the Squared Circle. I have this book right here, which is a great book by Pat LaPrade and Dan Murphy. And I'll talk about Dan here in a little bit. But this has the whole, you know, this is all about the originals, the legacies, the legends before Glow. And it's written in this book. And this is just awesome that people can, especially this book here, to go back and see everybody before Glow, after Glow. So putting us back on the map is really good. And when we do the conventions, by the way, you get young kids who come up and say how much they love the show. And then I have to look at them. I go, okay, so you know that I am not in Glow Netflix. We are and some people know that, and some people don't know that. They're like, oh, there was an original, or yes, we're so excited because yes, there was, we do know who you are, and they're young kids. And so that's like music. Mike, you're way into music. You know, I could interview you about all your times taking photos with bands and whatnot.
But don't, because we're here for you.
I know, but I know, but Mike has such,
Hollywood's significant others in a big band, and she's into all kinds of metal and stuff. And I was thinking, Jeannie, watching the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame deal just a couple of weeks ago.
You what?
Judas Priest got inducted.
I watched it.
Perfect.
I loved it, and I loved what Rob Halford said when he introduced himself, and he says, "I'm the gay one in the band." I'm like, "Good for you, man. Good for you."
Pat Benatar too was very cool. I like Pat Benatar, kick-ass.
By the way, yeah, really happy.
So why do you think that people still, even without the Netflix show, people have still been so captured by what you had done in Glow? Why do you think people so many years later are so fascinated with the Glow experience that you had?
Well, this is something that I was thinking about when I was at Comic-Con. I looked at a photo of all of us. There was like 80 pictures of Glow Girls, and I looked at what everybody looked like. And everyone was unique and different in their own way. They didn't look the same. They all didn't have big boobs and perfect noses.
You were the prettiest.
I don't know. There was a lot of pretty girls.
No. Don't even. You were on a different level.
Just let her talk. Let her talk.
So that was very kind of you. But everyone was uniquely different. Mountain Fiji. Look at Olympia. Hollywood and Vine. Yes, we might have been we were these street kids. You had the superheroes.
Godiva.
Anna, Spanish Red. but everyone had a unique look. And that is because one of the reasons is our director, Matt Simmer, was all about the characters. Okay, remember, he came from an acting background. David McLean came from the wrestling part of it. So Matt was about our characters. Now look at today. I went to see a taping of Wow when I was in California a couple of months ago, just to check it out. And it reminded me a lot of Glow. But to me, the girls didn't stand out as much. They all looked the same, and no disrespect at all. But I didn't see a lot of creativity. I don't know. I just think that we were different, individually different, and brought something different. Every girl did. And I think that's because of Matt. Matt having it more character driven.
On the WoW thing, just briefly, with McLean there, I'm sure you talked to him. Did you get a chance to talk to either Jeanne Buss, who was at a lot of those things when I shot her there?
I would have loved to talk to Jeanne, because watching just recently, what is it called? The Legacies or Legend or something of the Lakers. It's fantastic.
Winning Time?
No, they did something because she wanted something a true documentary as opposed to the HBO. Was it HBO?
It's so good on HBO. And she was not there, because I would have loved to have met her and talked to her. And we're both Jeannies, and we're both Jeanne Marie's. And I watched her and I thought, damn, she reminds me of a lot of in some ways, me growing up. She wanted to do Playboy. And she said, I wanted to do Playboy for me. I wanted to do Playboy. I knew I wanted to be in that magazine before I was in Glow. And it's just little things, but she was not there. And David McLean was ill, and David wasn't there. So I didn't.
How about AJ Lee, CM Punk's wife? She's like an associate producer and does some of the commentary, but she's not doing enough. And she lends, credibility, which she had to have been there at least, I hope.
You know what? I didn't see her. And if she was, I didn't get to see her. The cool thing is LA Comic-Con put us right by the ring. So they had the wrestling where the wrestling should be.
Oh, they brought it to Comic-Con. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did that, the one that you and I went to in 2019. What was I going to ask you? Well, let me ask a couple of questions, though. And I told you I was going to ask you some stuff. A zillion interviews I've done with you, or just yacked with you, or the conventions over the decades. I've never asked you if you had, what kind of awareness prior to Glow did you have of pro wrestling, if any?
So I had no idea about women's wrestling, but I did know a little bit about the men's wrestling, because my grandfather used to watch it. And of course we would go over and visit grandma and grandpa, and on TV there would be the wrestlers, the old school wrestlers. So that was my only knowledge. But I never thought in a million years that I would be wrestling. And when I got into it, Russ, I liked it. I got it. Do you know what I mean? I got it. My dad had us in sports when we were kids right away. There were boys on my street, so I played with them. So that makes you tougher for sure. And so when the wrestling part came around, I'm like, I can do this. And when Mondo said, which one of you ladies can raise your hand, which one of you ladies can ram your head in this turnbuckle, turn upside down, I raised my hand first. And
wow.
That's what you do. If you're someone like me who's always thinking ahead, which I was, I'm thinking, if I raise my hand first, that's gonna be a cool thing. But I know I can do it. And I did raise my hand first. And David McLean told me later on that is why you're one of the first girls hired. You weren't afraid. So I think if I was a manager, or if I was trying to interview girls, that's the first thing I look for, is giving. Not 90%, not even 100%. You need to give 110%. You give that, that's a girl that wants that job, and she's going to do well.
Now, have you ever done any acting or any kind of stage performances before you started wrestling?
Hardly. I'd never been in front of a live audience ever in my life, ever. So that first show was I was very nervous. Never been in front of a camera like that before. And it took me a little while, because I had to get used to, well, who's Hollywood? What is that? Who is Hollywood invited? It's not like Wonder Woman. or ISIS, those people that you saw growing up. Well, who's Hollywood and Vine? Okay, they're these street punk kids that, they steal watches and wallets. What? So I had to figure out what the heck we were going to do. And so a lot of it, like the costumes and the hair and the makeup, was me bringing in what I liked. I wanted crimped hair, and I wanted sexy like corsets. I wanted that 80s vibe because I loved all the 80s wrestling, all the 80s rock and roll music. There was Motley Crue. Look at the chicks in that, Cinderella, all those bands. I was just, I'm like, let's bring those video vixens into the ring, and, I would always bring in new outfits for Vine. And however, can I just say, none of the outfits that I brought in were ever okayed by the wardrobe lady, because I was afraid to do it. I'm like, if I bring this in and go, can we wear this? I didn't want someone to tell me no. So I just would put them on. I go, put this one on and put this one on. And we would just run out there. No one told us no, but I didn't want anyone to tell us no. And I knew they would. So I'm like, I need to wear this. Like this. Here's a corset right here. I need to wear this in the ring.
It looks like a Victoria's Secret thing, one of those $1 million
yeah, it does.
Back in the day.
I know. I remember seeing that on TV. This is from a company called Vargas or Varga. From the pinup Varga. Remember the pinup Varga? Does
right.
You know that? Vargas?
Huh? Yeah, that bugged me because I grew up for a long time in Century City, which wasn't that far from Holmby Hills, where the Playboy Mansion was, and finally got to go there for an MMA deal, and that was part of our childhood. And then for that Hefner, I'm sure you watched that Hefner documentary on what the heck channel, A&E, and that was really kind of depressing.
It was. I don't even know if I saw the end of it, Mike. Yeah, it was really sad. It was just like, wow. It's interesting how when people pass away, how all the people come up from under the rocks to say the shit and you know what? Probably a lot of, and they just didn't want to say it when he was alive, is what I think. Ursula and I will tell you, we butt heads during the show. We were in Boston and we were playing the Channel. I don't even think the Channel's there anymore. It was a rock club. It wasn't a wrestling arena. It was a club. And they put up our ring. And the first thing that came out of Ursula's mouth was, ew, this place smells like booze.
What's a bar? Right?
And I got like, you know what? People pay good money to come here. Who cares what it smells like? We're going to do a show here. I go, you're lucky. I say it to your face and not behind your back like everybody else does. And that was what I said to her. Was it nice? Probably not. But what she said was negative as well. And, that was our relationship. She was a baby face and I was a heel. So I was, but I told it the way that it was. And we did do the show. And it was a good show.
So remember, the heels were usually the nicest and vice versa with the faces. They weren't always gracious to the fans. Go ahead, Russ.
Yeah, I was going to say, so you were at the comic book convention. Did you ever read comic books as a kid? And if so, were they inspiring to what you did as eventually in the ring? And as you said, you were mentioning Isis. I remember her in the TV show that she had.
So growing up yes, that's a good question, Russell. So growing up as a kid, no, I wasn't into comics. You would think I would have been from all the boys that were on my street. However, as I got older, like say 7th grade, 13 or 14, when Kiss came along, that to me was the comic book heroes for me, but in rock and roll. Wearing their outfits and the makeup, I was just like, these are comic book heroes come to life. Plus I love the music so much. So I got comics later on in life, and I love Wonder Woman, by the way. George Perez, who passed away this year, I believe, or was it last year, the comic book illustrator for Wonder Woman.
Oh, I love George Perez. I was a huge fan.
Me too. I got to meet him quite a few times, and he did make a what do you call it? A caricature of me, and he called himself Black Diamond, and it's beautiful. I'll take a photo and I'll send it to you guys of it.
Please.
It's on my wall. and I'm not in my office. I'm next to my Christmas tree today, but yeah, I'll send that to you because it's very cool. And he was a very nice man, by the way.
Everyone said wonderful things about him. But
Yeah.
now, do you ever get back to any of the you said the boys that were on your street? Do you ever get in touch with any of them? And did any of them like look back and go, "Oh my God, I could have gone out with Hollywood"?
Well, Chucky was my best friend. Chucky lived across the street, and he was the oldest of 3 boys, and he was like 3 years younger than me. And we were best friends. Our parents used to hang out, go to the beach together. He's married, and I don't think he has any kids, but he was just a very laid back, how do I say that? Just very calm. I think I was the wild one of both of us, but when you're childhood friends, we were not boyfriend and girlfriend. We were just best friends. So I don't know about the other ones because I don't see them. They don't live on the street anymore. But who knows? I remember Mom and Dad, we went to it was a party that my dad was invited to, and there was a little boy and a little girl there. And when I was younger, my hair was very curly, so I didn't have it long. There wasn't blow dryers when I was like 10. Maybe there was, but we didn't have one back in the day. And so my hair was curly, so my parents would cut it shorter. And I like to wear blue jeans. So we go to this house, and I meet the boy and the little girl, and I started playing with the boy because I played with boys on my street. So when I got tired of playing with him because he was getting really rough with me, I went and played Barbies with the girls. And he came into the room and he looked at me and he said, "How come you're playing with Barbies? Girls play with Barbies." I'm like, "I am a girl." He got all weirded out. I was a boy. Oh, well.
Let me ask you, we just lost Jeanne LaBelle, who I worked with from the 70s on, but he had originally trained, we'll get back to Jeanne in a second, he had trained Mondo Guerrero, a lot of combat stuff as he did Chavo and Hector from about 75 on, as he did Piper as well, but he trained Mondo to train others. And so Mondo comes in there. I don't know if Sue Sexton ever came in as like an assistant to Mondo for Glow or...
No, it was... But I wrestled Sexton. I have a story of that. But no, she did not. It was
just strictly Mondo doing the training of all the women? The wrestling?
Yeah, Mondo did the first 2 months, Mike.
Okay, just the first 2 months. And then, of course, his nephew, Chavo Jr., has done a ton of training, like on the Rock show, Young Rock. And, so it's kind of nice to see that element. But do you have memories? I mean, I know you would always see him, and I take pictures of you with Jeanne at the Cauliflower Alleys, particularly when we were in LA. But any memories of Jeanne? Because that guy had an IMDb of stunt work, movies, film that nobody can touch.
Okay, so I'm trying to think before or after. We did Married with Children. Jeanne LaBelle is the ref in the Married with Children episode. That's season 4, episode 17. I met him there. Afterwards, when I started doing stunts, I met him more. Then Cheryl Lightning Russa, and myself took his grappling class. And that was before I broke my leg. So I broke my leg in 1998. So I was taking his class the beginning of 1998, the grappling. And I remember going in there just to learn more from him. And yes, I do remember him. And it's very sad that he has passed. And then I would see him at some of the stunt, like the Taurus Awards, the different awards that would come about. But you knew him probably much better than I did. And Cheryl knew him obviously well. As well, because she's just a glorified stunt lady, Well,
you've done it all. I see him on average about 3 to 4 times a week in the 70s, and at his memorial, at his dojo with Gorkar in North.
That's the one.
Yeah, Gorkar. Yeah. Is that where you broke your leg during the training with him?
I broke it not there. No, I broke it wrestling girl during that time, and mine basically she had me. I had a headlock, and she took her leg and she wrapped it around my knee and hooked it at the ankle. And her legs were this big. My legs are this big, okay? Hers were this big. I didn't want to let go of the headlock. And when I twisted like that, it broke in 3 places. Ooh. With her.
Ooh.
It was the most painful. I still have 7 screws and 2 plates in this leg, and I do have arthritis in it now. So I'm going to physical therapy because I have a little issues going on in my knee. But that could be where I live because it's colder here in Nashville. You know, LA, it's not as, I want to use the word more.
Oh, it's been pretty cold for this neck of the woods. It's been cold. Super cold, rainy.
But it's colder here, honey. You know, 39, 48 degrees. I don't care. 53. My blood is still very, very thin. So, and you know what? I'm not 20. I'm not 30. I'm not 40 anymore. So, you know, I understand these people that are still wrestling today in their 50s, you know, how much pain. I think I've probably been living in pain that I don't really know that I'm living in that pain for a long time. But my lower back and my right knee is starting to feel it.
By the way, you don't look a day older than 40. So
I love it. Thank you. Well, you know what? There's no drugs and alcohol. I barely drink, hardly, but man, in the day, that's what we did. We had fun. I will say that, you know, even though I did the PSA commercials, you know, for Glow about drinking and driving, there were times that I did that, which was wrong. So I think a generation today is a lot different. What do you guys think? I think the young kids anyway are a little more aware.
Yeah, they're more sensitive. That's why that leads us into like comics having to be cautious of what they say on stage. And
right.
So, yeah, kids maybe even hypersensitive on.
Kids today don't even want to drive. That's why they don't get nailed.
You are about that. I talked to some kids. I'm like, you don't want your license at 16? Are you freaking kidding me? What? I couldn't wait to get in the car and out of the house. We didn't have these little, you know, computers in front of us, you guys. We didn't have this shit. I wanted to get in my car. Dad bought me a car, but it wasn't a brand new car. It was a used car that was probably $400. And Dad fixed it up. I'm like, oh my gosh, what is this 1973 Plymouth Barracuda? What?
Oh my gosh.
Oh, it was bad.
I had a Plymouth Valiant.
Oh, no way.
So brown Plymouth Valiant that was like a tank, and everyone in the house had an accident in it. So it was yes, it's funny that you also had a Plymouth. That's pretty.
Jeanne, did you grow up in the valley? Where did you grow up in the SoCal, if you can say?
So I grew up, born and raised in Burbank.
Okay.
Mom and Dad are still in that same house. So when I go and visit every month, which I do, I work and then I stay in my room.
What are you doing when you come?
Mother's sewing room and stuff room, you know.
When you come to Burbank, what is it? What work do you do?
I wrestle.
Wow.
Yeah.
Still?
They have the showbiz conventions, the movie TV thing. You go the one at the Burbank Hilton. They do quarterly. I don't know if you go to that. You go to a ton of the Chiller conventions, all those things back east. But they have.
I haven't been to Chiller, so Chiller needs to hire Glow, Hollywood Glow, because Chiller is really cool. But you have to be invited, and that's the cool thing is I am being invited to more and more of these events. Big event, I've always been invited to that. There's something coming. Oh gosh, in California, Mike, WrestleCon is the end of March at the Biltmore.
Right. Yeah, that's going to be big next. The whole week. It's exhausting just thinking about it because.
I'm going to be there. I'm excited.
Well, you'll have to come back on the show and tell us what your experience is like at that, because we'd love to.
I will. Yeah.
Well, I'll see you at that. You mentioned before I forget Danny Murphy. Are you not working on a project with Dan Murphy, or are you at liberty to say?
Yeah. So that's why I brought up this book here. Danny Murphy, I asked him probably in 2018, Dan, would you be interested in writing my Glow autobiography with me? And he didn't even blink and said he would be honored to do that. So we came up with the pandemic, which pushed a lot of things back, and he was really busy with some other books. He's writing for himself as well. And we touched base last week, and he's like 90% done with it. He got, when he said, I'm so excited. He goes, Jeannie, get your photos ready. So I got to figure out, okay, do they all have to be digitized? Because I have so many photos that you guys haven't seen. I'm really picky when I post on Instagram or Twitter, or Facebook, which ones I should post. So that way, when you get to the book, you're going to see stuff you haven't seen before.
I've got to send some photos. Glad you reminded me. I'll send him some photos to you. I have you, Sue Sexton.
Yes, and Sue Sexton. I wrestled with Sue back in the day when she wrestled for my company. Boy, was she was really good too. Very technical.
But yeah, a lot of people don't know she was an Australian women's champion.
Yes. Yeah. I haven't seen her in years. Do you keep in contact with her at all?
No, it's been X amount of time since Killer Tomato passed. I don't think I've.
No. You mean the Alaskan Killer Tomato is still here? That's Debbie Peltier.
She's still alive.
Yeah. Well.
Okay. So Jay York.
The Alaskan.
Who worked in our territory. He was one of about a zillion Mr. Wrestlings. He worked in Los Angeles in 1974 for Mike LaBelle, Jeanne's brother.
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Who is Jeanne's brother still with us?
No. And that was the one that nobody liked, allegedly, where he was like immediately cremated. He told his widow and daughter, no service. Jeanne's service at his dojo. I meant to say that because Ronda Rousey and I were the very first two speakers. She spoke first, introduced me, because we both had to leave because we were both kind of antsy. We're the only ones wearing masks in the packed dojo. It's the only public event I've been to since this COVID pandemic junk hit. But she was a class act, and I mentioned as she and I were leaving that on the mic that she had worn, it was very subtle because Jeanne had that famous thing where he put his white judo gi when he was competing in Japan amateur for judo in a washing machine with something red, and the gi turned pink, and so he had to wear it out there. So that became his thing, his calling card. And so the very first WWE TV after he passed, she wore a Jeanne LaBelle pink gi to the ring. None of the marks the fans really knew, except those of us who knew. And I mentioned to the crowd what a class act Ronda Rousey was doing that to pay tribute to her trainer, who trained not just her to win those 2 gold medals, but also her mother for judo competition. And then he trained Ronda for MMA, initially for Strikeforce and UFC, and finally trained her for WWE Pro Wrestling, although she was a longtime fan since she was a little kid.
Wow, I love it.
Jeanne LaBelle was, and Jeanne's best friend in all of everything combat since 1964 was Antonio Inoki, who died like a month to the day after Jeanne died, almost.
Oh man.
And that was the guy that Inoki trusted to be the referee for Inoki versus Muhammad Ali, boxer wrestler, the first, well, at least 70s modern MMA match. And Jeanne LaBelle was like the conduit, the guy that was like communicating between Ali, the boxer, and Inoki, the wrestler, for that 1976 big pay-per-view. I mean, that was a huge deal. It wasn't a great match, but Jeanne was Inoki's hand-picked referee.
Jeannie, I had a question that I wanted to ask you about. You mentioned Playboy earlier, and first of all, it's interesting that you wanted to do it because there's a lot of women that look at Playboy now, especially in the Me Too era, era that we're in, and see it as so degrading.
Gone. It's gone. It's no longer in existence. The magazine's been sadly gone for a couple of years.
Right.
Yeah, but there might be an online present, but I know what you're getting at, Russell. But when I was growing up, that's not what it was called. And it was glamorous, and it was very cool to be in that magazine. And that was one of the things. I wanted to be an actor. I wanted to pose in Playboy, and I wanted to give out an Academy Award. Those things were glamorous and fun. And when I talked to my parents about it, they were like, they would just ignore me. They just was like, I didn't have acting lessons. My parents are Catholic, and they were pretty. I don't know if they were strict because, man, I'd be on the back of a Harley Davidson, and back then there were no helmet laws, and my mom would be like biting her tongue and be like, "Be careful." And I dated musicians, and their hair was longer than mine, and tattoos, and my parents never said one nasty word. They were very cool as far as giving us lots of freedom, but there were rules. There was curfew at 12, and there was chores that had to be done, and there was church on Sundays. And so, back as a kid, you think, oh, this sucks. I have to do this, and I got to do this, and blah, blah, blah. But you know what? At the end of the day, when you're older, thank God I had all of those in place, because that makes me who I am today. It just does. I have respect for elders. I'm always grateful for our fans. To be asked to do these events and conventions, starting the GoFund for Ursula was just like a no-brainer. For her daughter, it was a no-brainer. I'm like, I am doing this.
But I'm curious. I am curious why you never actually did do Playboy, and did you ever audition for it? Or?
You haven't. I am in an issue of Playboy, December '89. I'm sorry. I didn't say that. Yes, I'm in Glow. They were doing a pictorial on it was called Lethal Women, and our director picked 3 ladies. He picked myself, he picked Lady Godiva, and he picked Thunderbolt, which was the tag team for Thunderbolt and Lightning. Us 3 ladies got picked for that pictorial, and that is entitled, so December 1989. Sometimes I sell them, or I have them at least in my suitcase when I'm at the wrestling cons. If I, autographed, if I autograph them and sell them as well. So there you have it. So yes. And then I did some other stuff with it. They came out like Playboy, if you remember, Michael, too. I don't know if you remember, but they also had like special magazines, like this will be the business.
Right.
And I did a couple of those as well. So I did like 3 or 4 different ones. Not a Playmate. And of course, watching that documentary about Hefner, wow, that was pretty interesting about how some of these ladies were picked, and if that's true or not.
What was the experience like? Was it something that was it like what you thought it would be, or was it?
It didn't bother me. I didn't care being naked in front of, because everybody, you're naked and you feel a little uncomfortable, because I don't walk around, in front of people like that. So I watched everyone, from the lighting to the lady that did my nails to the photographer. No one's looking at you. They're doing their jobs. And so that was comfortable. And I thought, well, this is what they do all the time. So I didn't have to question them or anything. So no one made me feel uncomfortable or weird. It was a great experience. I always thought, though, if I posed outdoors with no clothes on, when you go, oh, it's so hot. If I had all my clothes off, I'd feel so much better. Oh my God, it's hot as shit, with naked or not, or clothes on or naked. It's hot out there, no matter what.
Your other goal, though, you've accepted quite a few awards. You accepted, obviously, an award when the CAC had that whole Tuesday Glow night, but you've accepted, you had an award given to you at San Diego at that women's convention. There have been quite a few awards for Jeanne.
Yeah, I did. And you know what? There's supposed to be another award coming. Jazz and some different ladies on the East Coast are being awarded something coming up. I don't know if that's going to be an ECW show or when I'm at Baltimore. It's called Celebrity Fest. That's February 5th. Yeah, you guys, there's like a women's Hall of Fame wrestling. I've been hearing a little bit about it. I think it's supposed to happen. I don't know. So we'll talk about it as we get closer. All the details.
To my point, Jeannie's won quite a few awards. So you have everything, but maybe not the Oscars, but you had pretty close to it. Lots of times at the podium, accepting it.
Yeah.
And have you got any acting gigs that are coming up? I mean, I can't understand why you aren't a star somewhere because you're so vivacious.
Well, she's done all of this stuff when she was here, but she moved back for the music of the Memphis, Nashville area.
I moved because Ryan is here for music, so I travel a lot, you know, and a lot of the auditions are not here. However, I still will dabble in the stunt work. And 2 months ago, I was in Los Angeles, and I had a stunt guy asked me if I was available, and I'm thinking, what days is it? And when he told me the days, I knew I'd be in LA, but I also had accepted to do a wrestling convention in Indiana. And since they had paid my airfare and my hotel, I just could not go, no, you guys, I have to cancel for this gig, because that's me. When I finally found out what it was, and it hasn't been on TV yet, I was like, oh, I could have tried to like miss one day maybe. It was not that 70s show. What's the new one with the kids in the 70s and the 80s? I'm sorry.
Stranger Things?
No. It's television. Oh my gosh.
I think I know. It's on network, not
No, it's network, right? They're in Philadelphia. It's Pittsburgh or Philly, and they called them anyway. It's here. The Goldbergs. Oh my God.
Oh, the Goldbergs. Oh wow.
For the Goldbergs. And they were looking for wrestlers, and somebody submitted my name on Facebook to the coordinator. And so I saw his email. I just put in one of my wrestling photos in there, and he called immediately. And I'm like, oh, I wanted to do the Goldbergs, but they called the girls.
Let's stay on it because they've done a lot of episodes. They have Goldberg the wrestler as the school coach. This is on ABC on Wednesdays.
There you go.
And they did a look back with Hogan. They've had a lot of it because the writer, showrunner, the guy who bases it on his life, Adam Goldberg, grew up watching wrestling and Glow. So there's a chance you could still be on it at a future point, because they do at least one or two episodes referencing wrestling every season.
Here's the thing. They didn't even know that I was Hollywood from the show. This was just a stunt coordinator looking for wrestlers. Could you imagine when I went there and said, I am Hollywood? I would have had to rewrite everything. Add some more Hollywood, because they do that. When I did JAG, they did the same thing. On JAG, we were wrestling on the show, and then they decided, oh, wait a minute. They wrote in lines. You know, they can switch all of that up pretty simple and real quick. So it might not be I'll follow up for sure. Definitely.
But you keep it. Book is out. Do you have let's let you start plugging stuff. Do you have a title for your book?
I have a working title, and this is what I see in my head. I see Hollywood, the little Glow original. Mm-hmm. Hollywood, the Glow original. What do you think?
I think it's all of the skeletons, all the good and the bad, and it's weird. I don't think, to my knowledge, you would know best. I don't think there's really been a Glow book out, a dedicated Glow book. Nope. So you're going to be the first again.
And also to reiterate, or not reiterate, but to for a point here, I will give it more credibility because I did the pilot and I did all 4 seasons. So you could talk about Glow. Anybody can. Or you could have been in it for 9 matches, or season 3 and 4, but I lived all of it from the pilot all the way to the end. So I think I will have a little more credibility than most people, but there's no other books right now. But I can see it on the shelf. I'm looking at pink and black, Hollywood, big letters Glow, and original. Because
I would also say you could also title it as Hollywood, the most gorgeous lady of wrestling.
I like
to
that.
Me, you are. To me, you are. You'll always be.
To have it credible, because I don't think anybody has the knowledge and the credibility to talk about all of the stuff that happened and went down. I'm sure she's got a zillion great stories people are going to want to read.
Oh, my God. And funny stories. Oh, I'm not going to tell you right now, but there were some funny stories with Ursula when we went to Russia. No, I'm not going to tell you because I have to put it in the book. It's hilarious. Me and Cheryl were talking about it at dinner when I was in California, and I literally, my eyes, I was crying. I haven't laughed that hard in so long when Cheryl was reminding me some of the stuff. And I'm like, oh my God, I forgot. You know, just the lack of the communication, the different communication with the Russians and us.
Wow.
Yeah, just funny stuff. But yeah, you're right. You guys you're right. I can't wait. I'm super excited for this book. It is something that I've been trying to write for a long time. And you know what? I've been trying to write this and I've been talking about it since 2007 and before that. But you know what, you guys, it wasn't ready. It wasn't ready. If I wrote it in 2007, I wouldn't be able to say all this other stuff that has happened, like Glow Netflix and just things that have happened in our society. You know, so I wasn't ready to come out.
Maybe it's a way you can commemorate the memory of Ursula, you know.
Absolutely. And of course, Mountain Fiji and Matilda the Hun that passed.
Matilda, we had you on soon after we lost her as well. Didn't you help start you were big.
Yeah, I think go find her as well.
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember, what did we do? We just did another go.
Yeah, the blonde one that passed away.
That was for Becky. Oh my God,
Yeah.
I'm Sally, the farmer's daughter. Oh, yeah. Oh, it's terrible. See how many girls have passed?
It is a little sad that, you know, I mean.
Yeah, and they're not that old, you guys. Those girls are young.
Let her plug. Let's let you plug everything because you got to get up way early tomorrow. You got
You're
Northeast.
Right. All right, everybody, if you're interested in following me, I have an Instagram, which is at Glow Hollywood. I have to make sure that I say it. It's Glow Hollywood. And then I have, that is Twitter, at Glow Hollywood. If you guys are interested and you're an Instagram person, the official Glow Hollywood. And for the Facebook friends, it's Jeanne Bassone, which is my first and last name. Oh, my soap. Talk about it. I'll tell you real quick.
Oh, the soap. Right.
Soap line called Hollywood Botanica. And I sold out of everything. I made so many soap before Christmas. There's like 1 or 2 left. And of course, I have New Year's Eve and New Year's Day soap. But, you know, thank you, everybody. And thank you to all the fans. And Mike and Russell, thank you so much for having me on. I love seeing you guys and catching up.
It was our pleasure. Believe me, you know.
And you have a great holiday. Feliz Navidad. Yeah,
same to you. Feliz Navidad. You guys be safe, be well, stay healthy. Right, that's the most important thing. If we don't have our health, we don't have anything. So yeah.
And let's not wait so long before we have you on the show again. You know.
Okay. In 2023, maybe before or right after we do WrestleCon, we'll talk.
That would be fabulous.
Yeah, I'd love it. Okay,
I can't have you on the show enough, to be honest with you. You could be on every week. Mike could take a hiatus, and you could just be on the show every week, and we could just you and me would be fine. But I'm sure Mike gets on.
Say hello to Mr. Gins, Evan.
Yes.
350 Days, another project Jeanne was involved with, and at the premiere.
I was there, and I went to the New York premiere instead.
Yeah,
Mike, you were at the
L.A. Grommans, and you were in New York, the big one.
Yep. They were both great. I'm sure they were. Lightning was with you, and that was cool. So great. Oh, and I love him as well. He's a good guy. You guys, all three of you, make a good.
I'll talk to you prior to Christmas, but have a great holiday, you guys.
Okay.
You and your family, definitely.
Yeah, your family. Well, everybody, thanks for having me on.
Hey,
all right. Great. Well, we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you. Good night.
Good night. Bye-bye. Good night.